Also, and that's
the microphone.
is it recording?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming, everybody. We'll go ahead and get this meeting started. It's 4:30 now, so let's go ahead and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh yeah.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so let's open it up for questions and comments. We'll open it up for public comment. Is there? I'm assuming we're all here for the presentation locally, but, you know, if anybody has any complaints, concerns, we're here. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're good. Thanks. Yes, absolutely. Well, we got the presentations coming right here. That is positive. So, all right. Well, let's move on to the presentation. So,
We're gonna start with grade 2, right?
grades 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Mrs. Pruitt. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to introduce myself. Mrs. Wright. We have Moss, that's in 2nd grade. Crew is in 3rd, and Michaela's in 3rd. And we are going to talk a little bit about a field trip that we took on October 2nd. This summer, I did a 4-day workshop on project-based learning. And when I did all my planning for this project for this coming school year, my focus was plastic. This school has a lot of plastic waste, and the recycle bins at the end of the day are full, but when we come in the morning, they're empty. But our recycle bins outside in the hallway don't have those things. So that's where I wanted this project to go. So I spent all summer working on that. However, after we took this field trip to launch this unit off, they had a different idea of what they want to learn about. And so that's what we're going to do. I went to Waste Management in Rochester over the summer. And when I saw this map, I said, oh my gosh, this scared me because it is.
Trash.
How big is it?
It is 1,400 acres.
Yeah, of trash. So I didn't know if they would give us a tour, how it would work. And they said, absolutely. But how is the tour set up, guys? But how is it set up? What did we do?
We drove around in the bus and we got out at like spots we could get out. Like we couldn't get out like near like the parts where they were working, but there's heavy machinery. And then we went out onto landfills and different kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so one of their workers, his name was Alex, joined us on the bus, and we got to stand and listen to him, and he explained everything about what happened in Rochester for the landfill. Anybody else want to start before we get out of the bus? No, we're good?
So one of the big questions that we asked them before we began this field trip was, where do you think all of our waste goes? And I certainly didn't know where Southampton's waste went, and neither did they, and it all goes to Rochester. Most of New England's waste goes to Rochester. But what happens to it at the beginning, what happens to it at the end? We started our field trip off with an empty trash bag. And by the end, because we had snack and we had lunch, it was full. Well, where does all of that go? And they got to see what happens with it step by step.
So what about the machinery?
The machinery has big fat tires that have no air in them. They're just big solid things of rubber that can not be punctured by nails.
Because of all the trash that's everywhere. This doesn't like me. So the kids were very excited. They came with lots of questions to ask Eric. The smell was there, so there was that. So this is where we got to get out of the bus. And this is an old landfill. You want to talk about any of that?
Hello. So a landfill is when they take lots of trash, and for it to happen, they take lots of trash and then they bury it over with a rubber cover sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put like dirt and then they grow grass on it. But before they do any of that, they use a machine that has spiky tires that crushes all of the plastic and all of that stuff. And then they put the rubber over it.
Good job. And then they had pipes too, correct? Let's see. We'll get to those pictures of the pipes because what comes from the pipes?
Gas.
Do you remember what kind?
Like
Methane gas. And what do they do with the methane gas in Rochester? Go ahead.
They burn it.
And
They use it as fuel.
power where?
At UNH.
At UNH. That's how UNH gets its power, is from the methane gas that they burn. And then, so it was really excited to feel the methane gas pumped up. And then I'm not sure if you can see, one of you, Moss, want to talk about, or Michaela, the water towers. Where does the water come from? Yeah, from the trash. So as the trash is decomposing, water's formed. So in order to keep the rubber membrane secure, they have to pump it out and clean it.
Do you remember what happens when they pump out the gas in the water, how much the landfill goes down each year?
It goes down about 2 feet each year.
2 feet every year.
So, and we're looking out, and this is miles. You can see the big trucks. It's a huge plant. I guess we took a lot of pictures of the group. They want to get to the whole part. Well, what about the recycling, guys? Because I'll get to those pictures of the recycling.
So they recycle.
Go ahead, talk about the recycling.
They organize it. They put it in this big like truck.
So it comes in on a truck.
It's
Well, what's this truck on? And what do they do to the truck? Go ahead.
weigh it.
And then it dumps its load. Oh, we're going to hit that button. What do they do with the recycling? I thought we had a picture of that. And what do they do with the sorting? Do you remember? Go ahead.
If they have leftovers after sorting, they send it to the Massachusetts.
And what do they do with the cardboard and the plastic that they do sort out?
They crush it in this building with the front side loader, and they make it all in one big pile in like this huge garage building.
It's probably out of order, but I know that we have pictures of that. And then we got to see the landfill, their last landfill that they can have.
The last one was way back
Yep, so this is the one that they're currently using. And you can see the rubber membrane down. And what do they mix with all the trash?
Wood chips.
Wood chips to help break it down quicker. How long will this hole last?
10 years.
That's it. That's all they have left in New Hampshire is 10 years left of trash to go in this hole. So then the question to them came, what's going to happen in 10 years? Where's all the trash that we create going to go? Because there's not going to be any more room.
And what can they do about it as the people that will be having to solve this problem in 10 years? So, what were some ideas that you guys came up with for ways to help produce less waste?
Well, what they're doing is they're going to sort, they decided to get into 9 different groups. Is it 9 different groups?
9 different groups with 5 different categories.
And that's what they've decided to, what they can do to conserve electricity, what they can do to conserve water, how they can better recycle at school and at home,
Power.
how they can reuse items, right? Is that your project, is how you're reusing items? You're conserving power and your plastic recycling. So throughout the next few weeks, they've been researching, and they'll continue to research about what happens to all of the power, the electricity, and how they can reuse. And then they'll make presentations to the rest of the school on what the school can do to help solve this 10-year problem. Is there anything else? Go ahead.
About bleaching.
Sure, you can
So
talk about
bleaching is a gas, well, not a gas, but when they take out the trash, there's liquids inside of it, which is called bleaching, and they have to use a special thing to pump it out and clean all the trash. Because if they put that in, it can damage the earth and like the landfill and the air.
that. I think I got everything on my list. Do you guys have any questions for them? 'Cause they're in the middle of this project.
Was it stinky there?
Yes.
I just want to say this was fantastic. I did not know about any of this, to be honest. I have a lot of questions. I'm going to go home and Google.
What was your favorite part of the trip?
Mine was probably watching the truck get scaled and dumped in. Put in
What's your favorite?
probably
Most.
probably Sam's crew.
How many towns are here?
All of all of New England. Those that's good.
Questions out here? Did I see hands before? Was there any discussion about what they were going to do with this land? I mean, obviously it has to continue to decompose, but after the 10 years, was there any discussion about that?
Like for our ideas.
Well, no, like at the plant. Did they have any?
So Eric kept those hush hush.
Okay.
He would not share with
Okay,
us.
well, very
Because Moss,
interesting
I
to
think
know.
it was you that asked that. What's going to happen when this is all done? And Eric said, we're working on it.
Were you surprised at how much trash was there?
Yes, I was very surprised. Knowing that Mrs. Pruitt said that it takes all of New England really.
So there's a couch. It's right, I don't know.
There.
Yeah, it's the red couch.
It's a little red cushion, you can't see it. And
And,
then there's the rest of it.
and then by the end, when we got to see this, they could see some of the big plastic garbage barrels, the couch, and the kids were upset. They said, why aren't these getting recycled? Why are they being put in the landfill? Great questions.
Yeah, but after that lunch, you had snack and lunch and you had a whole trash bag full. What were you thinking about? Like that in one morning, you'd filled up a whole trash bag just in the class.
Think about all the spoons and forks we use every day. What did we say we could do about
We
that?
all we all agreed that for plastic we would recycle that, and then we could try to use as much reusable materials as like metal, all those other ones that are reusable for stuff, and stuff to conserve power and all the things. Because if you leave your water on while you're like brushing your teeth, that wastes about 5 gallons of water.
So you're doing all these projects right now. Are you going to be sharing those with all of us? Because I feel like you need to tell your classmates, but you also need to tell some of the adults, right? Strategies that we should be using to help protect the environment.
They'll also be writing opinion pieces or persuasive essays to convince people to work on waste reduction and conserving power and all of these things that they're passionate about. Because, well, there was an idea that started it all. This is supposed to be student-led. It's supposed to be directed by them, and it most certainly is being directed by
I
them.
think we have a composting group too.
We do have a composting group.
Yeah, none of them could come, but
And any community members that would like to connect with us to help us with our projects, we would love that. We already have several lined up, specifically composting to start, but we would love any help that we could get.
Thank you, guys.
I really,
Great.
yes, we really want to know this. We have to do the emails. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Slid back in just the wrong moment.
I have class at 5.
Sorry, that was fabulous.
Well, I'm assuming that covered the community service part too, is that, or is that separate?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's,
They're in no environmental campus.
okay, environmental camp now, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That was, yes, that was, we were gonna do grades. We're gonna do environmental.
Environmental camp, all right, so next up, let's have the environmental camp presentation. Come on up.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, crew.
It's fidget.
I'll be behind you guys.
That light on?
Weird. So I had the pleasure of being one of the chaperones with the 6th grade class when we went to an environmental camp. And I want to say thank you to all the parents that make this happen, the school board that approves it. It is a wonderful experience for me as an adult to go and see these students just thrive in the outdoors, but they're going to tell you all about it, right?
So this is our environmental camp trip, 2024. So it was the first day we went hiking and we went to the beach. And I mean, we feel like the best thing from the first day was probably like, I bet you a lot of people would agree, but like the lunch. It was like chicken fingers and waffle fries.
Did you eat them outside?
No, it's inside.
I took no pictures of food, sorry.
Yeah. and we went to the beach and collected shells. And on the hike, we like played a game. It's called camouflage. Oh, camouflage is where you have 15 seconds to run and hide. So you try and like run, hide behind something, and like so they can't see you. That was the first part of the day, and then we went to our free time. So this is when we learned how to outdoor cook. So we made brownie scramble and baked cinnamon apples. And it's baked cinnamon apples, so we basically made a campfire and we had a bunch of tin foil and apple. So we put butter around like an apple slice and then put cinnamon, brown sugar, and then we put it on one of the hot coals wrapped around tin foil until it was done. And the brownie scramble was we basically, as you can see there, we were making it in a bowl. And I don't really know the difference, but it tasted pretty good. And also it was very hard to like find like good sticks. Yeah. Next we did Eco Detectives. Eco Detectives was an activity where we had to figure out who was polluting the pond. And spoiler alert, it was someone dumping oil in the pond from a factory. We had to go around, like you can see here, we're with Nikki D, the camp running owner person thing. And we had to create a puzzle, which was a warning sign to go away from it. Up there, we're with our camp counselor, Puddles, but they all dressed up as different people, so he's a mad scientist there. And he's helping us test the water to see if it's good or bad. And in the next one, we're with someone called Red Bear, and we're doing food system. So we're going from what can be eaten to what no one eats, and what eats everything else. Oh, me again. Next, we're doing shark dissection. The shark dissection was actually my favorite. It was really fun. First, we just got to hold the shark going on. It was a dog shark, and our camp counselor Puddles right there. He did the first essential cut, but afterward we took out like organs, we took out the heart, the eyes. Yeah, we took out like the brain, we took out the eyes. Yeah, we took out basically everything. It was really cool, and we learned a lot about the inside system. It was really interesting to see, and we also learned about how the shark system works and how they're different from human systems. And Annabelle was disgusted the entire time. In my personal opinion, she was out every 5 seconds. So this is when we were doing like the rocket models. So basically, we had to first we were watching Puddles do a little demonstration on chalkboard of what you had to do. First, you had to like put water in it, and first you actually had to make the rocket, and then you had to like put water in it, and then put air pressure in it, and then you had to count down to pull a string, and the rocket would go flying. It's really fun, and there's a lot of stuff happening, but rockets flying everywhere. But it was really fun, and yeah. Then Annabelle and Evie kind of won over there. Yeah.
Was it distance traveled that you won?
It was like super.
They went.
We went flying apparently. Yeah. I was on the ground. But
They built very impressive rockets. It was amazing.
so free time we played Gaga Ball for most of the time, and we also played chess in the cabin. We played hide and seek. It was a time where we could just relax and do anything. We played basketball. We just sometimes wandered around and talked to the other school that was there. and it was a really fun time that we had. So for our last day or for our last trip or experience, we went to the beach just to have free time, but we ended up making this project about beach erosion. So there was a little town that we made and we tried to save it each time from the waves. And this was our last time. We also collected shells and stuff, and it was really fun. Oh. We're sad now. Yeah. And Caleb, the guy in the house, he wasn't actually happy. He just thought Mrs. Journey was taking a happy picture. But like this, so he tried to like cheer. This was super sad. We didn't really want to leave at all. Yeah, it was very depressing. You can see everyone sad besides Caleb.
They all felt like they could have
We all
stayed
sat
longer.
in corners. Yeah. Right. Yeah. My face was about to cry. So yeah, this is my environmental experience. We really loved it. It was amazing. Might be going back on our 8th grade trip, maybe.
Oh, boy. Going back on what? For their 8th grade trip. Oh.
Instead of New York, we're going to do a day in Boston and a week there. I don't think it's so cool.
One of the things
I don't think she'd approve.
I'll just add in, it was wonderful to see how just excited and enthusiastic the kids were the whole time with everything they were doing. They had lots of really good questions and just high engagement the whole time. And the last night that we were there, I asked the kids to just do some reflections in their journals that they keep for their SEL class about things that they appreciated, that they were grateful for. They wrote all kinds of things that they really enjoyed. And we've been doing a happiness project in SEL class with this group and understand the science of happiness. And so each week in their SEL journal, they rate themselves on their happiness scale, and I'm tracking that. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10. And in some of their journals, the tens turned into hundreds, thousands, and they couldn't put enough zeros onto their happiness rating, and they just said it was just beyond infinity.
We
It was
just put
lovely to
infinity
see.
signs.
Yeah,
I
so
put 3.
that was their experience.
Okay.
Anything else you all want to add about your trip? Do you want to take a minute? Do you want to do that? All right.
Oh yeah.
Or want to share? It's clipped right to the day of that you wrote your reflections if you want. Yeah. And James.
My
absolutely.
Wow.
Okay, I'll go first then. So the first question which we had was share 3 favorite things about camp. So first was the night experience, which was a wonderful experience that we got to do in the middle of the night, and it was super fun. We got to like see porcupines climbing through, and oh yeah, if you ate these peppermints when it was super dark and you let them in your mouth for a minute, and you spit down, they would glow. It was super fun. Yeah. The next was the marsh. I almost fell into like a mud pit, but Puddle saved me. Thank goodness.
Like just at the handle on the back of her back.
Yeah, my back.
And he just like grabs it like after all
No,
through.
so he stuck like a stick into the mud pit thing, and I was trying to pull it out. Everyone tried to pull it out, and I fell, and I almost fell in, but he caught me. But it was super fun, and we also found these they were edible. We found these little sea pickles, and they were super salty, and James had an obsession with them.
He ate like
We
a hundred of them at the same time.
We have a picture of James going savage over there. Yeah, yeah.
Seriously.
It was really fun. And then also hide and seek, because when it was like not pitch dark, but when it was dark out and we turned off all the lights in the cabin and played hide and seek, it was super fun. And one challenge that I overcome was probably that I touched a dead shark. I was surprised about that because I kept going up every 5 seconds. I did not like the shark dissection, but everyone else seems to enjoy it. But and 3 things I appreciated. Puddles, our counselor, the teachers for taking us, and Nikki D because he's the owner of the thing. And my happiness rating was an infinity out of 3.
So I shared my three favorite things with the nighttime activities in March. March was really funny, especially James going savage on Cubicle and Annabelle almost dying. Sounds really dark, but it was really funny. You have to be next to the dissection. It was actually really cool. And Porter, in the audience, if you do it next year, you're gonna love it. Oh, you'll be like me and be disgusted. And then I was really happy about everything. And one challenge I overcame, Linda, the chef, was mostly really good, but there's this thing called a Waitron there, which I call the Jumbotron. I don't know, it sounded better to me. We had to go in early and get the plates, set the table, and get the food out. And my night was pot roast. So I was stuck smelling hot and it was horrible. So I overcame the gross food. And three people or things I appreciate. Puddles, or his real name is Rain, so we gotta keep quiet about that. Exactly, that's what my notebook says. And my teachers and my friends, because we just had such a great time there together. And the other staff, specifically Seaglass, which is another counselor that helped us a lot, and Nikki B, because he runs the camp. I collected a leaf that I thought was really cool with that day. And finding a happiness newsroom was 100, I don't know how to read that, trillion with infinity to the power of 1,000.
So my three favorite things about camp were, one of them was hide and seek, second one was the good food, except for the progress. And spending time with my friends. The challenge that I overcame was dissecting the shark, because they're discussing oils in it.
Essentially oils.
And three things of people I appreciated: Mrs. Gurney, because she brought us there; Miss Johnson, because she let us seat there; and Audible. And my happiness rating was like a lot. So it was three things that I loved about it. Number one, the food. I was amazed. Also, the free time, because we got to hang out with kids that we like typically haven't met ever before. And also the whole 3 days, because the 3 days that we were there were very good. One challenge I overcame, just like everyone else, was touching that shark. Yes, that shark got goosebumps, like the liquids came out of its eyes. Three things that I appreciated: the food. And also, the people were very nice and caring. And also, the creativity that the workers put into like all the games that we did. And I don't know if you want to hear me say all this, but it was basically like, my happiness rating is like gazillion billion, like infinity to the power of I don't even know, out of 10. It took up 3 pages.
So, like, the three things I had for my favorite things was the food, the camp itself, and the dissection. I really couldn't think of a challenge I overcame, except for touching the shark. It's that weird. The people I appreciated was Puddles, the camp leader, Linda, the chef, and Nikki D, because she's the owner of the camp. And then my happiness rating was like 1,000,000 out of 10. For you.
God.
Questions? What are the questions?
Moss.
How many games was it?
3.
Where was it again?
Three.
days.
Oh, where?
It was in Ocean Park,
Yeah.
Maine.
Ocean Brook. Okay.
The question was next. We got a private cabin. Oh yeah, we got
Yeah,
and
and
they had like 150 kids squeezed into like this like
It's
it's a little bit taller than ours, but like we had this entire rooms and we had rooms to spare. Yeah, we had like well they're all like squeezed into that room.
That's
But
true.
we
Yeah.
had 6. We made friends with a girl named Poppy. 2 other girls named Evie. Yeah, and multiple other people, especially McKenna. She was a good one. but they told us that they had 6 or 7 girls crammed in one room.
Oh yeah, and they have really,
We're lucky.
they have
Yeah.
gymnastics mats as their
This looks like hotel rooms.
they've got the like
Yeah.
the next grade that's coming will also
Yeah.
cabin, but only if they get like
Only for
everyone
them.
has a partner. So Porter,
has a question.
You know the
it was Vermont.
Yeah.
We don't know which
St.
one.
Mary's.
Oh wait, I love
I like it. Like an
like
hour.
an hour. So yeah, I know. Any other questions?
I have
Okay.
Yeah.
You're all outstanding public speakers.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I think that's it.
Wait. I guess there was some debate about the food. Some people laughed at me, like, the guys really like it. And he was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
And some others had some critiques about it. They were like,
It's like, what was the best? The food.
all right.
That's how shy is the class, by the way.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, I was like, what? Oh.
Yeah. Well.
That's good though. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, consideration of the, hold on.
Wait, no.
You can do minutes if you want. Michelle's ready to do.
I can. Oh, okay.
The data whenever you
Okay.
want to do.
Oh, right.
Okay,
So
let's
whatever
go
order.
ahead and,
Either way.
let's go ahead and do that.
So, the state, we've been telling you about it, this data that's been in Barnard, and they just looked at it last week. So I wanted to share our data with everybody, too bad everybody else left. But I just wanted to remind you that this was last year's data. So it was administered in the spring, May and June. And it's given to grade English language arts, and math is given to grades 3 through 8. And the assessment is aligned with the New Hampshire College and Career Ready standards. And then science is given in grades 5th, 8th, and 11th. So we have 5th grade and 8th grade, and they're focused on the next generation science standards. And we use the data to provide, we can check on student progress towards the math reading standards, and it also helps us guide instruction, support school initiatives. So here you can see overall, our school's overall data for the whole school. In ELA, we were at 80% proficiency, and the state, this one is the state average was 53%. And in math, we were at 78% proficiency, and in science, we were at 57% proficiency. And then if we break it down by grade level, for the elementary grade levels, grade 3 was at 76% proficiency, and that was in English language arts. Grade 4 was at 72%, and our 5th grade was at 100% proficiency. And then our middle school data, our grade 6 was at 75% proficiency. The state average was 52%. Our 7th grade was at 67% proficiency, with the state average at 54%. And our 8th grade was at 100% proficiency, 40% for the state. So it's a great way to send our 8th graders off to high school. And then for math at our elementary grade level, we had 100% proficiency in math in grade 3. In grade 4, we had 91%, and in grade 5, we had 67%. You can see we're still well above the state average. And then for middle school, grade 6, we were at 65% proficiency to 41%. The state was the state average. Grade 7 was at 50%, and grade 8 was at 75%. And if we look at the science, our grade 5, we were actually below the state average in 5th grade, and 8th grade, we're at 76% proficiency. This wasn't a huge surprise to us. It wasn't something that we were proud of, but we know we have work to do in that area. Some of it is left over from COVID, because during COVID, we didn't teach science because we
there's too many other things to worry about. Then when we were back in school, it was hard to do science experiments and things when we were in masks and 6 feet apart. And we are working on this initiative SAU wide. So teachers are working in groups to strengthen our instruction in science in the elementary levels. The good news is that we are able to, kind of beef things up in middle school, but that is an area that we know we have to work on, and this clearly shows that. If you look at our proficiency over from 2019 to 2024, our science, like I said, I think some of this it has to do with COVID, but overall we're continuing, our trend is continuing to go up, which is what we want to see. And if we look at just our ELA proficiency from 2019 to 2004 compared to the state average, we're doing, really well compared to the state average, and we're continuing to move up. So again, we're happy with what we're seeing. We look at the math, same thing. We're continuing to trend up. And 2002 was the end of our first year in our math program. And so that we're continuing to see it move up, it makes us feel really good that, we like the program, the kids seem to like the program, we're seeing the progress, and this data just supports that. And then this is our science. So I mean, shows you, and also it depends because our school is so small. Sometimes it depends on the student population. Will make it go up and down. If you have 6 kids in a class, one struggles, it's going to bring it down a lot.
Okay.
So any questions on the data?
Maybe just in the area of science, what kinds of things are you guys implementing in the lower elementary to kind of beef up that?
So we're just starting some PD on we're trying to create some more competency-based units, like some of what the second.
That unit you just saw presented.
Well, yes,
right?
yes.
It's a great example,
Yeah.
and you heard them talking about some of the scientific concepts, right, related to that.
So we are working on a lot of things like that. So like that's a new unit that they're working on. Every grade level is working on something related to science to add to it. And I think some of it is also integrated into what they're doing. They're reading a lot of the reading that they're doing is science-based. And we've implemented a new STEM program that's getting a lot of science in that started 2 years ago. So kids are getting that once a week. So we are getting it in there a little bit more. And we are working SAU-wide. Shay is starting a program for at least.
We're starting up a SAU-wide PLC that's going to meet once a month with science teachers at the elementary and then science teachers at the middle school and freshman level together to look at instructional strategies, lesson planning, and student work as a way to tackle some of those instructional practices we want to see across the different schools.
What's a PLC? Sorry.
It's a professional learning community. And so different teachers from the buildings will represent their schools and will bring what's happening in their school to a group, and we'll talk about it, and we'll ask some challenging questions of each other about why did you plan it that way? Did you think about this? What was the students' engagement like? What does the work look like after you did that unit? And so we can have some constructive conversations like that to support each other as we move through this.
Okay.
That's one of the challenges of the school here is that there's one teacher for every 2 grade levels. So it's not like other schools are able to work with somebody else on the same grade level. We don't have that. So that offers a great opportunity for them to bounce ideas off of other teachers that are teaching the same content area in the same grade level. But overall, I'm pleased with the data. We're doing well. The science is just the piece that we need to work on.
But it's stagnant for like the rest of the state. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
it's mostly lower, but at the same time, it's just like
Yeah, that's.
uniform. Why is that?
The two things are happening in that data. The state switched over to next generation science standards, and different districts were faster or slower to adopt the new instructional practices related to that. So you're going to see some differences in variation, which makes it pretty stagnant pre-COVID. And then we know during COVID, science and social studies were put on the back burner as we really tried to tackle literacy and math and tried not to lose ground in those areas when we had limited time and limited ability once we got back into the schools to move kids and to group them and everything. So we're seeing the tail end of that, and that's why that science is pretty stagnant across the state.
That does lead me to another question, and maybe it's just not something they do, because I mean, I think back, I remember as a kid, and it's really only ever measured like English and math usually, like, just like in your testing like that. But do they ever measure social studies, like knowledge for that, or is there
We
any
don't
kind
have
of
any social
specific?
There's a graduation requirement that you have to pass the U.S. citizenship test. That's a graduation requirement that takes place typically junior or senior year for students as part of.
Okay, that's a great, okay,
Class,
okay,
but nothing earlier.
okay.
Yeah. Years ago, they did test social studies on the kneecap exam, if anybody remembers the kneecap, but that's fallen by the wayside years ago,
Okay,
as they really focused on ELA and math.
okay. All right, and that's statewide, that's just the way it is.
Statewide,
Sure. Yeah.
Questions?
No?
No, I think Michelle's point that you have very small cohorts, so with percentages, you might see bigger gaps in percentages than obviously people might see in a larger school, but I think the trend is really positive, and I'm really proud of the work Michelle and her faculty have done to boost student achievement over time. It's a slow and steady climb, but they've been really thoughtful about the implementation, for example, of the math program and the work they're doing around literacy practices, the intervention and supports that are in place, and it's really paying off in outcomes for your kids.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, let's go back to the consideration of minutes from the October 3rd meeting. So bring that
I'll
up.
make a motion to approve the minutes for the October 3rd, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll second.
No,
No, I don't think you were.
you won't.
Oh, you had something else. Remember, you had to take.
That's second part.
Yeah.
Okay, yep,
So I'll second that.
that's my abstain.
So is
Yes. Yeah.
abstain. I have that vote.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the
Oh,
report.
wait, no, I did get there. Sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got there at 4:33.
Oh,
Yeah. It's in there.
so
Really?
Maybe it was one before that.
would you like to vote on that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm voting yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was the joint board.
That's the one you, yeah.
Right? Yeah. But maybe I was really late to one of them.
Yep.
September. I thought it was a different time. That's what. And I couldn't get out of work.
All right, let's move on to the reports. So we'll go into Meredith's report.
Sure.
Yep.
So the student leadership team visited the offices of our insurance carrier Primex in mid-October. And Primex used to be, cubicles with, people worrying about insurance claims and dealing with property and liability issues. And post-COVID, really, or during COVID and since, really transformed into more of a hybrid work environment. And so they really transformed their space. So one of the pieces of our visit there was touring the facility, which gave students a real understanding of what it might be like to work in a professional environment as adults, and how there's shared space and how space can be redefined and redeployed. So they had some interesting questions about that. But the primary focus of our visit was meeting with the CEO of Primex, Ty Gagne, who shared a story of a New Hampshire hiker, a very experienced hiker who'd overcome a lot of challenges in her own life and was a practicing nurse, but who came across on this really terrible day a hiker who was not prepared for the weather, who was not in good shape when she came across him, and essentially brought him down the mountain in terrible conditions. But his focus was really about decision making, assessing risk, how we, all of us as individuals, as leaders, are making decisions, and how we are all often put in the role of serving as leaders, and the choices and decisions we make and the impact those potentially have, right? This woman didn't know necessarily the impact of the decisions she was making, and the care she provided to this individual, ultimately saved a life. But it was a great day for these students. I think they had a positive experience, and Ty has offered to follow up and do work with them as the year goes on. He happens to live locally, which is nice for us. But we are meeting again next week, where we'll do some goal setting for things that they'd like to accomplish this year, and setting some of our agendas. We're also, as you know, in the thick of budget development, so you haven't started yet, but Michelle has, and her staff have. All the behind the scenes work is currently going on to prepare for that. As you know, we'll have the SAU budget public hearing next week on the 13th, and then we'll start the work here shortly after that. I know it's been 70 this week, in the 70s this week, but snow sometimes falls in New Hampshire in November, even in October. So we will again start the year with snow days. If we have snow, significant snow, there'll be traditional snow days. Kids will stay home. If we run out of the first three, then we'll look at potentially using hybrid remote learning days as we get further into the winter season. That hasn't been an issue for us the last couple of years, but you just never know. I know Lauren's not able to be there next week. The Joint Board Communications Committee held its first meeting, and is meeting again next week to finalize some next steps and goals for that work moving forward. And then I would just note that we are expecting a very busy legislative season in New Hampshire. The window for filing legislative service requests opens up next week, I believe. There are typically hundreds of bills proposed that relate to public education. Those eventually get written down a little bit. There's often competing language, and we don't get the language right away. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. You can follow that through the New Hampshire School Board Association. I believe they're scheduling a webinar in December that they're calling their legislative preview. And then we would expect in early January to invite our legislators to come together to talk about some of the primary bills that are being proposed, and allow for some conversation between board members and legislators about those issues, how they impact your local communities. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Michelle, we did your report, so let's move on to. Oh, sorry, that's right. I went over that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yes. My computer might die, but I will do my best.
I just sent out some information. Yes. So as we're moving forward in the school year, I thought what I could best do is just send out information for parents. We're going to publish it through school websites, Facebook pages, however the different schools communicate best with parents. And this month I chose attendance because we're seeing across multiple towns in our SAU, some attendance issues already popping up, getting those kiddos to school. And I really think some of it is, again, we keep saying COVID, but where people got used to staying home if you had the symptoms, but and it's really trying to break those cycles and trying to help parents understand the importance of getting kids to school. When parents are surveyed about attendance issues, a lot of parents are able to identify, oh yeah, my kid misses about 2 or 3 days a month. But what they don't understand is what that looks like at the end of the year. And 2 or 3 days a month is 18, 20 plus days a year, which is 10% of your school year, right? That's a lot of lost learning. And it not only impacts your child, it impacts all the other children in that classroom, because teachers have to stop when kids come in and out constantly into a classroom space. They have to stop, regroup, reteach instead of progressing forward. When it's for a verified illness, we understand. But when it's, oh, Johnny just needs a day at home, or I'm taking Susie to my office to spend a day, or, oh, I just wanted to let her sleep in so we could do some shopping together for Christmas. Those days start adding up and start having an impact on the individual student and the classroom. So that was the format of my first newsletter. Subject matter.
Those vacations add up too, right? They would
Yes.
take their kids out for a week.
Yes.
And I'm assuming COVID must have made that exponentially worse.
Yes, it sure has. We saw attendance spike during COVID.
Mhm.
It has rolled back slightly, but it has not gone back down to pre-COVID levels.
You mean like absenteeism?
Absenteeism. And we call it chronic absenteeism,
Right.
even when those days are excused. A parent calls in, excuses the day. But when it's 10 or more during a school year, that's called chronic absenteeism. And we haven't seen those numbers go back down.
Yeah. That's somewhat.
We see that. I mean, I'm also a teacher. We see that a lot in our district as well. It seems like there's a big trend of extracurricular activities that take kids out of school as well. Are there any thoughts on, like, I don't know, how to kind of combat that?
I've gone in my previous districts where I worked. We had the same issues. You go round and round and round. We don't have any teeth to enforce it.
It's the problem.
That's the problem right there. So we can have attendance policies. We can follow up, but if a parent decides to keep their kid home, there's really nothing we can do to enforce it beyond filing reports and making calls.
I do think some of it is raising awareness, right, of the impact, and for teachers and administrators to talk about the impact that has on not only their individual child and their learning, but also on the class as a whole, and continuity of learning.
I'm gonna sound really old by saying this, but didn't skipping class, like generally speaking, like cause like in like a while, I don't know, like when I was in, like if you just didn't show up to school, like wasn't that usually like some sort of demerit, or like the teacher?
But it's less about you as an
more
individual student than the parent is saying, please excuse Alex.
Right, because they're calling in. Right, it's not like right.
We have some of that at high school. Yeah, we don't.
What's
It's not
that?
an issue here. We have some of
Yeah.
that at the high school, but not so much here.
Yeah. No, you almost wonder if that's. I'm sure it probably wouldn't fly, but to have some teeth to be like, hey, look, the kid's gonna start getting knocked on grades if you don't send him to school. I'm assuming it would probably.
Yeah, and that certainly happens in high school, right? It's hard to pass the class and earn the credit to graduate if you're not in the classroom.
Right.
And if you can miss 20 days and still pass the class, there's something.
Right. There's no.
What's happening?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right.
But at this level, it's we just don't have that.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Good. Okay. All right. So now let's move on to.
Mary, did you want to?
Yep, Mary.
Happy to jump in. I brought a health services report for you this evening. It is in your board docs to take a look. Next week, we've invited Emily Knight, who's a healthcare provider from Wentworth Douglas Hospital in Dover, to meet with our principals and our nurses. And we're going to learn more about sudden cardiac arrest and how this very serious condition really impacts children, especially those who participate in youth sports. The death rate from this particular sudden cardiac arrest, is 90%. So catching children who may be at risk is really the best prevention we can provide. It's life-saving prevention. And so Emily and her colleagues have teamed up with the nonprofit Who We Play For To date, across the country, they've screened over 350,000 students between the ages of 10 to 25, and they've identified hundreds of EKGs, electrocardiograms, for further review. That's the goal of this screening. And once kids are identified at risk, what the research tells us is that it's not a matter of if they will have a sudden cardiac arrest, but when, if they're in that 3% that get identified. So they've set a goal in New Hampshire to screen at least 50% of New Hampshire students in that age range. And they're offering screenings to do this by the end of 2025. They are suggesting that every student in that age range, 10 and up, be screened every 2 years, and that they're 95% effective in catching a potential sudden cardiac arrest versus only 1% that happens during an annual physical. So in the coming weeks, we will provide information to families, more detailed information if they wish to take advantage. It will be the parent's choice. The parent will register online and the child will receive the EKG at school. Painless, non-invasive, takes 5 minutes. And then the EKG is sent to a pediatric cardiologist for interpretation and the parents receive the results. I've pasted in an FAQ flyer for you. We're trying to just raise awareness. Lots more information will be provided after our meeting next week with Emily, and we'll let you know. This could even save one child across our SAU. It's worth the investment of time. The cost will be minimal because of the grant. They have indicated to us that it would be no higher than $20, and in some cases less, depending upon need. So that's the information I wanted to share this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. All right. So now moving on to Michelle. Did you have me? That what pretty much was, or
I do have the report, which I don't. You guys already have. I just wanted to point out one thing under safety and security. Well, Meredith and Matt and I attended a training that was called the Alert Training. It was held at Amesbury, at the old Amesbury Elementary School. And we went with Southampton Police Department was there too. There were probably hundreds of area of police, fire, EMTs. And we did school shootings. And we went through what it would be like. It was a really excellent training. But I just wanted you to know that we are doing this training and that we do have a Southampton Safety Committee that meets regularly with police, Southampton Police, Fire, and I meet with them too. We meet every couple of months to talk about our plan, our evacuation plan, what we're going to do. We will be doing a live, like we did last year, practice active shooter train. We're going to train the middle school kids again, and we will do a drill, active shooter drill. So I wanted to let you know that's coming. I'll let you know when that's going to happen. But in the past, we've had a school board member that attended those meetings. So I don't know if any of you could attend. Our first one is next week, which you probably don't have to be at that one because they're kind of debriefing of what happened at our training. But if there's anybody that would like to attend, then
what time do they have?
We usually meet in the morning because that's when they can make it.
What day of you?
It depends. I kind of work around their schedule because they're part-time, so whenever they can get free. But I'll let you know when the next one is, and then you guys can decide if one of you wants to attend.
Yeah, let me know. And if I can make it, I'll try to do that.
But if it's virtual, I could do it. That would be.
I mean, we could probably do that, but yeah, I'll let you know when it is. Then.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, so let's move on now to Matt. I believe we're getting to your report.
Thank you. So I've included the fiscal year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports. And for the most part, there really has been no significant variances from last month. However, there is one item that I do want to inform you on. That's an unbudgeted expenditure for this current fiscal year. So we were notified by our snowplow vendor that they will be resigning. They did both they they won't be servicing us. They did both the town parking lots as well as Barnard. It was significantly below market rate. It was really kind of almost like a favor. However, that is no longer in effect. So we did need to go out and solicit quotes, both ourselves and the town. And we will be incurring approximately $16,000 budgeted costs. So it was the vendor we were using charges $1,200 for the entire.
$1,200 for the
Which is less than like residential.
Are they no longer like in business, or they just decided?
They're just no longer.
He's doing something else.
So we were really lucky up until now. However, now we are.
So it's and this particular vendor is quoting a $16,000 like blanket for the year basically.
He's no longer.
No, but the new one.
So we received multiple quotes. We two at $17,500 and one at $19,000. So what I'm saying is $16,000 more than what we were paying.
Let me talk to somebody. There's a he owns a Wise Landscaping, like land. They're over in Seabrook. I think his wife is from Southampton originally. Yeah, Troy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk. It's worth a shot. I know he's busy with the fire department, but so I don't know if he'd be interested in that, and like in winter potentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't think he would. He's pretty reasonable, like resident. So like, I don't think he would. That's nuts.
Yeah, that is the kind of going rate based on what we pay for the other school districts.
We'll say like we did talk to like smaller people like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was him, but most of them, A, don't have the insurance for it.
Oh, okay.
And B, they don't have the equipment to do like the school. We tried a lot of people like that.
You did? Okay.
I think the insurance is the piece. And that's
It's
what
not
all
just
this.
it's not just a pickup.
What is it?
You can't just use a pickup for
Right.
Because you're moving the snow. Sometimes it's like a skid steer that they end up using. So it's definitely like a higher level than just like most, kind of.
But even like a sort of like dump truck style.
I
like a
will. We'll certainly.
That's what Troy has. He's got like some. I'm just.
It doesn't
spitballing
hurt.
here, you know?
It doesn't hurt us. But we did reach out to everyone we could find to get quotes.
And the insurance cost, I'm sure, is.
And the town had the same because we did it separately.
Right.
Is the town using the same person?
No, they're using a different. However, we did receive at least one quote from.
Do we have a contract already though for this winter? We may.
It's already signed.
Yeah, we had to
Oh, it
sign
is.
it by November 1st, or we weren't going to have anybody.
So when you only use it though, is it that's it? Like it's not. I'm assuming it's you pay for what you use, or is it like that's it blanket?
It's the blanket.
That's it. So you just okay. Wow.
That was, and we tried to get people to pay per, but nobody will do that anymore.
That's
Yeah, because it doesn't really snow anymore. So it's
I
like,
wish it was unheard of, but it has been our experience across the SAU. And in speaking with other districts, it's the same challenge. They need commitments because they need to staff and have equipment, right? If we get a foot of snow, they've got to be ready to remove that in time for us to get the doors open. If we have nothing, they're still staffed as if, right?
If you have a foot of snow though, you're not opening. So they don't have to get it ready to open. I mean.
but you still have to remove it at some point because it might not melt for 2 weeks.
I mean, they're not gonna, they don't have to do it. A foot of snow where the school is.
Yeah, probably not. No. Yeah.
Not that they don't have to get it ready. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's a.
Okay. Wow.
It was talking to people, it really has to do with the insurance. Like the smaller businesses won't do it because the insurance, when they do a business, it's outrageous, and that's why these people are charging so much because
It's because there's kids on site, and that makes the insurance really high. Or like it's a school, basically.
Facilities, no, it's usually just the
I think it
facility.
just has to do with like a facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the kids.
It's not even that.
Because the kids aren't on site when they're doing it.
That's true. That's a good point. That is stunning, though.
That is.
That's
Even more so that
buy
you
everybody
have to do
shovels.
that when
you, I mean, it might not even snow.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Let it grow project. You're shoveling the driveway.
I know, let's at least make it worth it.
It's athletic.
$16,000?
No, 16
More.
more, so it's almost 19,000.
Well, it's like 17.
Okay.
So I will say though, like, you're absolutely right. It's, there is a risk as far as how much snow we get, but oftentimes we've found that it's there'll be more costs when it doesn't snow, but it's because they're salting, they're putting down
Yeah.
sand like that. That type of treatment sometimes costs more than the actual removal of the snow.
And that's part of it.
That's
It's not just snow removal, like it's shoveling out the
Sidewalks.
walkways,
Yeah.
still snow blowing. It's,
Hey, I totally understand. I mean, I get it. For sure. But that is a lot of.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
we're very
For
fortunate
future
that we.
years, if
You know, we can look for,
proposed
yes.
vendors and, I mean, we're
Start
a
looking now.
nonprofit, so people couldn't do a tax write-off if they want to be really
And
generous in their own communities, but we did not have any of
the
that.
town had the same problem, and so actually it's the same price that they're getting at the town. So
Oh. Okay.
Sorry to.
Great news.
Yeah.
Anna.
Yeah.
All right. So on a more positive note, we are, currently working with Michelle, Lynn, and the team to develop a proposed FY26 operating budget and warrant articles that we do plan to present to the board at our first budget reviews or work session, which is scheduled for December 2nd, my birthday. I'm very excited.
Nice.
Additionally, we do have two meetings scheduled for December 18th and 19th, if necessary. We've actually finished up the budget in a session the last couple of years, but we do have two on the calendar just in case. Once we do have a final board approved budget, we will present to the budget committee. That is scheduled for a budget public hearing on January 8th. And then the budget will go to the community at the deliberative session, which is scheduled for February 5th. So after the conclusion of the deliberative, we will have finally a final budget, which will go on the on ballot for March 11th for election day. So this is kind of the beginning of a pretty comprehensive, in-depth budget process, and we will continue to update the community on the status. We'll include all the budget materials online, and I am looking forward to the next few months.
Yeah, and I would note, like, Alex, this is new for you. If you at any time want to sit down with Matt or with me to walk through some of the historical budgeting, we're happy to sit with you to talk through that.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
I'd like to make a comment. I miss the actual budget book. I liked to look at the physical book and like to
Physical
look
book.
at the paper. I just liked it better.
If you would like us to print one out,
I mean, it's a waste of paper.
I won't tell second and third grade.
Yeah, right.
after that
I'm
presentation,
I agree. So, I mean,
Just don't laminate it.
I liked being able to turn to it and.
we will always print out a budget book upon request. So if you want one, I'd be happy to. So-
Yes, please. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's we have a few requests every year for
Okay.
physical copies. It's not you are not unique.
This is the first
actually.
time.
That's not going to save on you. You thought the presentation.
No,
That's-
I did. They can recycle the
I
paper.
don't.
That's
You
true.
don't even need to put it in the book. I'll just take the paper.
I mean, I don't mean to say anything, but we're spending $17,000
You know,
on snowplows, so it's gonna be a couple extra dollars for the paper.
We're gonna have to increase the paper in the budget now.
No, I will.
I'll bring you the paper.
There you go.
Um,
Plywood was too expensive,
So
so we're not
we'll
going to use paper.
publish it on Google Docs. You'll still have it online, but once we have that finalized, I'll drop off a copy here. So I drop off the milk every week anyway, so.
Okay, great.
um,
I appreciate.
Recycle the binders.
I don't even need the binder. I'll just take
We have plenty that
paper.
we recycle. We'll be happy to give you one.
I might even have a binder in my basement from when before.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Here.
Okay, I like.
So.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. It's, I
I
get
can
it.
take it to work with me and I can look at it that way.
Right on it, make notes.
I mean, I know you kind of have like, it's almost like a trophy case.
Yeah.
where-
She saves them year after year.
I mean, and you can show it off to your friends
This
and like.
this is my last year. I'm sorry. I'm telling you all right now.
Parties.
Bring it up. I was gonna say,
You can
do you
break
bring
it
out a
out
party?
and like show people. I mean, that's what I do. So.
You must be really fun at a party.
Oh. I tell you. People come from all around to come to my pleasure
Matt's
parties.
talking numbers again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you. All right, let's go into continuing business. So vacancies, we're back to the same old, same old.
Yes, I forgot to, I'm gonna ask somebody tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I've
I never got it.
asked and re-asked everybody I
know.
can think of. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, for God's sakes, it's like, it's 2 days we're asking here.
Mm.
But here it is. All right, so,
Yeah, so we ideally really need to appoint someone at your December meeting because the filing period will open in January and we want to make sure you have someone ready to go, but we'll do our best, see if we can wrangle someone.
So what if we just appoint somebody? Then they have to do it?
grab them off the street, that's it. You're doing
I'm
this.
gonna appoint Nancy Considine.
Have you asked her?
She's gonna, no, but I'm just gonna
She's
appoint her.
back.
Bring her back. I mean.
Have you asked her if she'd want to do it?
No, I just thought of her in my mind right now, but
Maybe ask her before you appoint her.
I mean, I might just appoint her. It's not too bad.
All right, so let's go on to policies.
Yes, so these are the same set of policies we saw last month that were with you for first read and that resulted in small comments or questions. So ideally, we would move forward with adoption.
We'll make a motion to approve the adoption or withdrawal as recommended for the 23 policies as presented.
I'll second that. Okay.
Our last item, there's not a calendar attached. We
Okay.
don't have one yet. But when we met for agenda planning, Alex asked about the Amesbury following Massachusetts calendar versus following the New Hampshire calendar. And so we thought we just should bring that up for discussion with the board.
Well, you had mentioned there were some staff that was curious about that.
Yes,
That's-
yes. Do
Yeah.
you want to frame that?
There's some staff who have requested that we change our vacation to line. Sure.
We are still pretty evenly split at the high school level, or still, but we are pretty evenly split at the high school level in terms of number of students. I think we have 16 at Winnicott this year and 12 at Amesbury. And that has been pretty steady one way or the other. Maybe last year it might have been 16 in Amesbury and 12 at Winnicott, but there's not a clear mandate from a high school perspective. And it's up to you. I know we talked about it a couple of years ago, and didn't make a change. I would think that if that's something you want to consider, we would want to get some input from families. I think that's a big decision.
Yeah.
So people plan more than a year in advance around those holiday schedules so that they aren't pulling their kids out and creating massive absences. So that's something you want to entertain, then we could work on developing sort of a survey for parents.
Can I ask, I'm not even sure I'm allowed to ask this question, but is it the same staff that's being again from a couple of years?
I wasn't here when they asked before, so I don't know.
Do you know?
At least one is not because they're no longer here. The one I can think of.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with a survey potentially.
Yeah, I think,
I
I
think
mean, I
we need
really
to put it out to the
I
family.
think it's up to the
It's up to the
families
families.
to be honest.
because
Yeah.
what it really does is that potentially let's say we go to New Hampshire, it potentially removes now all of a sudden maybe you see like 90% of the kids going to Winnicott
Mhm.
for obvious reasons. Which I mean, I'm not opposed one way or the other. I just think it's got to be up to the families.
Mhm.
What would make sense there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a complicated survey, so we can
Okay.
have something and,
Or you don't even ask them. I mean, it's hard for staff to ask for that. So, I mean, you know that going into taking up your job and all that. So maybe not. Maybe maybe that's hard. That's harsh. Harsh.
no,
I
completely up to the board.
they do know. I definitely, when I interview them, I make sure that they know that we follow the Massachusetts schedule, so they do know when they're hired.
I'll go with majority of what the board wants, but I do feel like that.
I'm-
Also a thought, I mean, why even put it into families' minds if it doesn't have to go in their mind,
Right.
because there's
They are
somebody
hired.
at the staff level that's asking for a change. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about it? Like, do you prefer the mask? I mean, because in that case, it comes down to us right here saying, what do you know what I mean?
I mean, I have a different stake. I'm probably the wrong one to ask.
Because you're
I'm a teacher in Massachusetts. I have a daughter that goes to Amesbury High, and I have a
Right, so
son
you're
that
gonna-
goes here.
right.
So that would really flip things around.
And I don't have any
Yeah.
kids who are involved in high school yet, and I'm a ways away from it, so
I have more
don't have.
stake in this game than most.
I mean, I know New Hampshire schedule is easier as far as like getting away. I know that it's like because Mass follows big states,
Mhm.
so obviously. But outside of that, I'm just not in a place where like I only have Sophia here, and all of my kids are going to be elementary age, so I don't have
Yeah, it doesn't.
long time to think
And I
about
think
that.
it would be hard for parents to actually have to make that decision also.
Yeah.
Like, now what do I do? Like, because if it's the opposite way of what now you're in a bind.
Mhm.
So you're putting yourself into a situation where your choice could put other people in a bind.
Right.
And
Puts me in a very uncomfortable
So
position.
maybe a good way to look at this is that in right now you said it was 16 kids that went to Connect and 12 kids, and then if you kind of see if like 3-4 years in a row you're seeing that kind of difference, or you're seeing a solid 2/3 to 3/4 of the kids really favoring Winnicott or favoring Amesbury, and that's a trend for 3-4 years, then I think you either keep it the same based on that trend, or if it turns out that over 2/3 of the kids are going to Winnicott, maybe you revisit that. You say this doesn't make sense. Why are we following that schedule? Because most kids are going here.
But I agree, if there was a change to ever be made, I think you do need to give
couple years.
at least a couple of years notice
Yeah.
that change would be implemented.
Yeah.
Because you can't just
No, you can't spring it on people.
bring it on people.
Yeah, especially
Big
even
change.
even like a year out, you couldn't spring it
No.
because what if somebody, I don't know, plans a wedding? Like who knows what? Not that people skip, but still.
And it's where it's really coming in conflict is the high school level, and not great to have an absence, but it might be better at that level to be absent from school due to something that was planned because of a vacation for the elementary school level. Like your family planned something because you knew this group was going to be on vacation. This school was so. I mean, absences are not great either way, but the high school level is a little bit different, and they're capable of taking care of their own needs themselves, where if they're on vacation on a different time than their siblings who are in elementary school, or they can't take care of themselves.
I think what I'm hearing now is the consensus would be to kind of stay put for the upcoming calendar year, and monitor the high school enrollment and consider a survey in future that might be looking at
if the trend
2 years
starts
out.
to switch.
Yeah, if you see a solid trend, I think it would naturally make sense because then it wouldn't be fair to keep it at like okay, only a third of the kids are going to one school and that's consistent. So, or less even. So then you're like, well, why would we follow, that school schedule? I think would be my guess. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Let's go on to.
The longest meeting we've had.
I know. We had 2 presentations. 2 presentations. Fun.
I think the rest is just your upcoming meeting dates. We don't have a non-public.
Okay. So
And I
Can
will
we-
make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:55 PM.
I'll second that. Oh, yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Actually, I can ask you a question. For the joint board meeting,
How long is the joint board
13th.
meeting? Yeah, it's all set. I
It's a budget public hearing, but yeah, we only need to have one.
you only need to have one. Okay.
Didn't I?
We'll be here.
Yeah, I don't